Awesome. Thank you. So everybody, welcome to our Monday night paint night. We are so thrilled to have you. Tonight we are going to be painting this grouping of modern ornaments, which I am very excited to paint with you all tonight. Just quickly, I'll go over the supply list of what you'll need to paint along with us tonight, and then we can go ahead and start painting. So tonight we are going to be using FolkArt matte acrylic paint. It's our favorite paint to use for our Monday night paint nights. We're going to be using Licorice, Wicker white, bright pink, baby pink, bright blue, yellow, and then we're also going to be featuring a very special paint in the FolkArt line. This is our FolkArt Treasure Gold, and we are going to be using the platinum color, which is this really beautiful silver, just to add a little bit extra to our painting. We called for a 10 by 10 canvas. Any square canvas will work great. I'm actually working with a 12 by 12 tonight, but whatever canvas you have, you can totally follow along with us. And then I have some palette paper, my water basin, some paper towels. We called out a Craftsmart variety brush set. Really all you need is a good selection of flat brushes, a couple liner brushes, and you should be set. And then I'm also going to be using my blow dryer tonight. So without further, and I also want to mention too, Dylan is with us tonight. So if you have any questions or comments throughout our class regarding the project or a color we used or a product or something like that, then Dylan can help you out there or relay any questions over to me. So let's go ahead and get started, you guys. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to apply some of that yellow to our palette. And with the yellow, we're going to go ahead and base coat our entire canvas with our yellow. I am using a large flat brush, just a 3/4 inch flat.
And let us know where you guys are watching from. We've got a Florida, I think a Minnesota, a California.
Cool.
What was that color again, Emma?
This is daffodil yellow, but really any yellow color will work just fine for this.
Perfect.
And the great thing about this painting too is it's really just a pattern, so you can truly use whatever colors match your home decor. So if you're decorating your home with some untraditional holiday colors, then this is the painting for you. But if you have like a red and green color palette, this painting would work just as well with whatever colors you choose. Maybe some really pretty blues would look nice. Okay, so once you have base coated your entire canvas, I'm not going to wash my brush just yet. I'm going to leave it out and I'm going to actually blow dry my canvas because for our next step, we're going to want our canvas to be pretty dry. Okay, so once your canvas is nice and dry, what I'm going to do with my 3/4 inch flat brush, I'm going to take my paper towels and offload or remove as much paint as I can onto my paper towels until there's really barely, really try to get all of the paint off. But if you can't, just get as much as you can off of your brush. And I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so once as much of the yellow paint as you can get off is off, we are going to add some of our Wicker white onto our palette now. And now we are going to dip our brush into our Wicker white and then even offload that onto our palette, the same brush that we base coated our yellow with. And the reason being is because we want to use a dry brush technique, which is when you have a super dry brush, there's no moisture on it from washing it in a water basin or in a sink. And that is gonna help us achieve this really beautiful textured kind of loose brush stroke effect in our background. And really that's just creating some interest in our painting. So we're going to kind of go in like some crosshatch patterns with our dry brush, barely any of the white on our brush. If you need more paint, pick some more up, but then remember to offload it. And just in opposite directions, we are going to create some texture in the background of our painting. And you can see we're not trying to make any harsh lines. We're not trying to base coat our canvas in white after we just painted it with yellow. We're just adding a little bit of texture to the background of our painting. Okay, until your canvas looks something like this. Now we can go ahead and rinse our 3/4 inch flat brush in our water basin. And my canvas is pretty dry because I really didn't put much paint on there at all. So we're ready to move on to our next step. Now we're going to work on the composition of how we want our ornaments to lay on our canvas. So I'm pretty sure I put in the supply list tonight, I called for just a regular pencil, or you can use a piece of chalk. Sometimes I prefer to use a piece of chalk because it removes from your canvas a lot easier than pencil. You can just kind of wipe it off with a damp paper towel or even your fingers. But of course, if you're using a pencil, we're going to paint over it, or you can erase it with a regular pencil eraser. But I'm going to follow the example painting pretty closely. So let's do this ornament right here. So what we're going to do is we are going to paint a smaller circle, or not paint, but draw a small circle. And then right below it, almost kind of like a snowman, we're going to draw a bigger circle. And then at the bottom here, we're going to do a little point like this, like kind of a curvy V. All right. And that's really all that ornament is. The cool thing about drawing is that every single beautiful, very detailed drawing that you see is all just a bunch of little shapes. So that's all we're doing tonight, is creating a bunch of little shapes. So let's just do one circle right here for our pink guy in the corner. We have a kind of oval one here. We're going to draw a wide oval and another one of those little curvy V's at the bottom. Up here, Going to do kind of a smaller oval. We have a little circle coming up from the top. Another little circle down here. Half circle, I should say, because part of what makes this painting cute and modern is that some of the ornaments fall off of where we can see, and it really creates that trendy pattern to look. Just a touch of an oval coming up here. And then we are going to create kind of like a small circle. So a small half circle, a bigger half circle, and then another one of those half of those curvy V's. Till your painting looks something like this. Okay.
Emma, would you mind moving your painting over to the right just a little bit and pulling your original in?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so let's fill in some of these navy ornaments first. So I'm going to teach you guys a really quick little technique about how to mix navy. So we have our bright blue here. We're going to add that to our palette. Okay, and now we are going to add just the smallest amount of our licorice, of our black color. Okay, so the ratio we're looking for here is like, I would say 5 parts blue to 1 part black, barely any black. I'm going to take my number 12 flat, just kind of a medium-sized flat brush, small medium, and I'm going to mix this color. Okay, easy peasy, and we're left with this really pretty, robust navy color. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in this shape that we drew. So I'm kind of making a C stroke here. And then coming down to make that V, popping back up from the V. And then another kind of little C stroke mirrored on the other side. We're just filling in that shape that we drew. Something like that. Okay, kind of like a beach shape. Okay, and if you guys can see, we have another little navy ornament on the top left here. So let's go ahead and fill that one in while we're at it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush again. If you still have some of that wicker white out, that's what we're going to be using next. So if you don't have any, go ahead and put some more on your palette. And we're going to fill in our little snowman kind of looking shape here. Okay, we have another little white ornament down here. Okay, now we can go ahead and rinse our brush again. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some baby pink to our palette. And fill in this little oval shape. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush again. And lastly, we're going to add some of our bright pink to our palette. And we are going to fill in the remaining shapes of our ornament grouping. So this one, and this one. I'm going to flip my canvas, make it a little easier, so you guys aren't just looking at my head.
These are looking really good, Emma. For everybody who's painting along, Emma's doing a really cool bright colored version of kind of the shiny bright Christmas ornaments. But we've also taught a few different paint classes with Michael's with some really traditional colored shiny brights. Andy Jones has painted those before. So if you guys like this ornament style of painting, check on Michael's YouTube channel for more lessons like this.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are new to our Monday night paint nights, then welcome. We do a Monday night paint night with Michael's every Monday night, the same time every Monday. And we have a plethora of different artists who show you how to paint a painting in just about an hour. It's a lot of fun. Are you saying something, Dylan?
Sorry, no.
Oh, Andy Jones is one of those painters. He my favorite part about our Monday night paint nights is that everybody has a totally different painting style, and every time there's a new technique that you'll learn, and you'll always walk away with a really beautiful painting. So okay, you guys, so that's kind of the boring part of our painting that we just did. We are going to go ahead and mix one more color, and then we're going to paint that, and then we're going to blow dry this so that we can start adding some details. So on your palette, you should already have some wicker white, and I'm just going to add a little bit of black to my palette, just a touch. I'm going to take some of my wicker white, and then just a touch of that licorice, that black color. So it's like a 2-to-1 ratio of white to black. And we're going to mix a gray color with this. Okay, and at the top of our ornaments, we're going to paint those little ornament hooks, which is really just kind of painting a notch like that. We're just painting a little square. So just taking your flat brush, holding it like this to your canvas, or just painting just a little stripe like that. And we want it to be the same width of our small flat brush. And we're going to go ahead and do that to all of our ornaments that you can see the tops for. With our gray. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush. Now we're going to add some of these fun details. All right, so first I'm going to go ahead and blow dry my painting really quick. All right, so the first detail that I'm going to go ahead and paint with you all is this little circle inside of our light pink ornament. So to do that, I'm going to dip my number 10 flat into my wicker white, and we're just going to go ahead and paint a ring in the inside of our ornament. So this is going to be really loose looking. One of the things that makes this painting so great and so modern looking is nothing's perfect. It's very loose. The ornaments aren't totally perfect shapes. And so it's better if you if you maybe don't have the most steady hands. I don't want you to worry about that, because if it's not perfect, it's totally fine for this painting. So with the same width of our brush here, we're just going to go around in a loop. If you want to mark this out with some chalk or a pencil beforehand, then totally feel free to do that. If you run out of paint, just go ahead and pick your brush up and reload as you're making this loop around. We just want it to be the width of our small flat brush. Just like that, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and dip my brush, or I'm sorry, rinse my brush and set it to the side. And while we are working with our wicker white, let's go ahead and pick up our small round brush. So I'm using a number 6 round brush. If you want to use a liner brush, you can use a liner brush, whatever you feel comfortable making a little bit more detailed line work with. So I'm going to take my 6 round, I'm going to dip it into my wicker white, and we're going to go ahead and paint these little curly cues. Sorry, I keep moving my finished project away. Paint these little curly cues into our navy ornament. So starting at the top here, we are going to, one thing I want you guys to be mindful of too is while we're doing these curly cues, I want you to keep the same pressure on your brush throughout the whole pattern, because I'll show you guys with a different color on my palette. Because if we apply a different pressure throughout our stroke, then we're going to get a different width. So I'm applying the same pressure here. But if I were to mix up my pressure, see how we're a little inconsistent? So that's just a little thing I want you guys to be mindful of as we make some of these more detailed kind of line work patterns on our ornaments tonight. So I'm going to swoop around and come back down, swoop up, swoop around, come back down. Applying more paint to your brush as you need it. Swoop up, spin around, come back down. Swoop up, spin around, come back down, and I'm going to go ahead and end it there, connect it to the other side of my ornament. And I always like to kind of go ahead and touch up some of the funkier looking lines. If you didn't do it perfect the first time, that's fine. Or if you did it in a way that you're not pleased with the first time, that is okay. You can always touch it up. I normally do, and I paint every day. Okay, now we're going to do the same exact pattern, just lower on our ornament. Swoop up, come back down. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the pattern for this guy. So I am going to paint one line directly across my ornament here. Kind of marking the 2 rows, and another line up here. Really close to the top of our canvas. And now we're going to paint little scalloped rows in there. So just painting little C strokes that are connected to those lines that we just painted. Do the same thing for the bottom one. Now I'm going to go ahead and just take my, since I'm already using it, I know it's not ideal to not do line work with, but we're just going to fill in with our round brush that we already have our paint on.
Emma Candy said, "This is my favorite kind of project. Pretty, and I can do it. Thank you." Love the colors, so cheery.
That's awesome. That is my favorite kind of project too. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, you guys, it's coming along nicely. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush again. And now let's dabble into our baby pink, shall we? We're kind of almost done, you guys. All right, so I'm gonna dip into my baby pink and we're gonna start to paint, sorry, we're gonna start to paint this kind of rounded square, I'll call it, in our little white ornament. So we're gonna come up, make that little square, rounded square. So really I'm just making kind of like a hill, just like that, coming up, whoop, come back down, and go ahead and fill that in with our baby pink. All right. And now we're going to fill in this baby pink section too. So we're just going to kind of follow the shape of our ornament. And then fill that in. All right, now let's work on this one. So this one takes a little bit more skill than the rest of them, but I don't want you to be turned off by that. So let's practice a little bit on our palette. So we talked about the different pressure that we apply to our paintbrush, creating different widths of strokes. And that's something that we're actually going to utilize to our advantage in this ornament. So this kind of little, sunburst, starburst shape, we are going to apply more pressure. And as we come to the center, we apply less pressure. So more pressure, kind of fanning out our brush, and then as we swipe up, less pressure. And we're going to do that in a circle in our little ornament here. So you can go ahead and practice that if you would like. I'm going to go ahead and start painting that on my ornament. Just like that. All right. So I have quite a bit of paint on my brush. I'm going to offload a little bit of that. And let's go ahead and paint these really thin lines on our white ornament. So again, talking about the pressure we apply to our brush. If you want to switch to a smaller liner brush right now, feel free to, if you're more comfortable making thin lines like that. I'm going to keep with my number 6 round, and I'm barely applying any pressure to my brush as I make these lines. And we're just going to kind of zigzag come across our white ornament here. If you want to mark it out with a pencil or chalk beforehand, feel free to do that, because in this one, straighter lines probably look better than not straight lines. Just like that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and rinse my brush. And I think for the last time in our painting, I'm going to go ahead and blow dry my canvas really quick so it's nice and dry for the rest of our designs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take and dip my number 6 round into our navy that we mixed up. And I'm going to create this kind of little star pattern here. So one thing that makes this look unique and funky and kind of vintage is that the lines in our star are not even. So one is a little bit shorter, one is a little bit longer. So we are going to be mindful of that as we paint this. So starting a little bit further from the edge of our ornament, I'm going to make a straight line across. And I want my line to be a little bit closer to the right end of my ornament than the left end, because that's gonna give us the appearance that our star is a little bit wonky. So I'm gonna make one line across that way, and then one line going up, making a plus symbol. Okay, and then we're gonna make a cross intersecting this little plus sign that we painted. Okay. So now with the navy still on our brush, go ahead and offload some of that navy if you need to. We are focusing on the pressure of our brush again, and we're gonna do the same thing that we did with our baby pink lines, but now we're gonna do it in navy. So not a lot of pressure because we don't want our lines to be as thick as they were in the previous ornament that we just painted. Just like that. We're going to paint a little ring in this ornament in here with our navy, not a lot of pressure on our brush. Like that. And we're now going to paint a little ring on our white ornament down here, kind of like we did this ring. So we're going to apply more pressure, sticking with our round brush. More pressure. Making that little shape like that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead now and rinse my brush. Okay, I'm going to take my bright pink really quick and do the same thing that we just did with our navy, mirrored on the other side with our bright pink on this bottom left little white ornament. Rinse my brush again. That's the only detail we made with bright pink, surprisingly. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys a really cool technique on how to make perfect little circles every time. I like to use the back end of my paintbrush. So I'm going to dip the back end of my paintbrush into my wicker white, and we're going to make these little perfect circles all around our bright pink ornament, just by dotting them, applying more paint to the back of your brush as you need it. Because the more paint you have on it, the bigger your circle will be. Also, it makes sense, but the bigger the back of your brush, the bigger your circle will be as well. We want to be mindful of that. And we're just going all around this ornament here. Okay, and now all we have to do is wipe the back of our brush with a paper towel. And we are going to repeat that same exact technique on our little starburst ornament here. So I'm going to dip the back end of my brush in my navy. And because we're using the same brush that we created these white circles with, but we want these to be a little bit bigger, obviously. So all you have to do is touch down in the center of where you want your circle to be, and then swirl your paintbrush. And you get a bigger circle. As you swirl, you kind of come out to the sides or the perimeter, I guess. Is that what you would call it with a circle? Perimeter? No. Is that it? Circumference. How big you want the circumference of your circle to be, and just swirl it around until you achieve that. All the way around. Okay, go ahead and wipe off the back end of your brush again. Now, keeping with our number 6 round, we rinsed it a little too prematurely. That's on me. I'm going to turn my painting this way to make it a little bit easier on myself. And we're going to paint the strings that the ornaments are hanging from. So we're just going to be mindful of the pressure that we apply to our brush. We're going to stop the line when it gets to an ornament, and then we're going to continue it up. I'll show you guys what I mean by that. So starting in the middle of this gray space, we're going to paint our navy line all the way up to our white ornament. We're going to stop because we don't want to go over a beautiful ornament that we just painted. And we're going to kind of follow your finger if that's helpful for you, and continue that line so it looks like a beautiful continuous pattern. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and do that for all of our ornaments that you can see the tops for. And you can really, if you want to, paint your strings with any color that you want. We are almost done, you guys. I'm going to rinse my brush. And now for the star of our painting tonight, I am going to go ahead and paint those little gray hooks that we painted. I'm going to paint those, or give them a top coat with our beautiful treasure gold. Just right over those little gray squares that we painted to really give it a beautiful shine for the holidays. To all of those gray tops. Last one. And with that, we are done, you guys. So I want to give a big thank you to all of you for painting along with me tonight. It has been such a pleasure to be here and paint this modern ornament grouping with you all. Just a reminder, well, I guess we don't have a paint night next week, huh, Dylan?
We're done for the holidays.
Yeah, we're done for the holidays. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with us tonight. If you decide to post your creation that you made tonight on social media, make sure to hashtag Make It With Michaels and Plaid Crafts. We're always looking under those hashtags, and we love to see what you guys are painting with FolkArt paint. Am I missing anything, Dylan?
No, I don't think so. So let us know. Please post in the Let's Paint with Plaid Facebook group your pictures of your projects, and we'll see you next time. Next year, I guess it'll be.
Yeah, see you next year, guys. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye, everyone.